So if you have not been following the news for Sonos for a while, we are in for some exciting news. Now, in the most recent firmware update, just on the 5th of August, Sonos said something that they will be featuring a distinct firmware version for the older speakers versus the newer speakers. So it is going to fork at some point. So the newer speakers, they have higher amount of tech inside, they have more advanced technology, and the older ones with the smaller CPU with less memory, they're going to have a distinct fork in the firmware. Now, Sonos promises that they will not freeze those updates. It will still be operational, unlike a couple of years ago when they bricked some of the older speakers. So rest assured that these speakers are still going to be used. Now, the new firmware update that was launched on the 5th of August. So on Reddit, on the internet forums, there were a lot of comments on whether the sound has been enhanced. And it is confirmed by Sonos that there were a couple of small DSP changes that seem to have an impact on how lower frequencies were being processed and presented to the listener. And specifically, this is between the 20 to 500 Hertz range. Now, I have been a little bit busy, so I haven't gotten around to updating that firmware version. So I will get around to it in a week or so. And as customary on my channel, I will test the frequency response for before the update and after the update. So why does it take some time? Because that process is actually quite time consuming. And I only have the weekends to work on this. So if you're interested in that video, do stay subscribed. That will be the next video that is coming. But in general, most of the comments, most of the feedback online has been great for this version of the software. So if you have not yet updated, maybe you want to try updating it. It does seem that there are no negative impact on the sound signature, and a lot of people are singing praises of the new update, claiming that it gives so much more bass that is rattling the doors in their rooms. So on the front of software updates, Sonos and Philips Hue has announced a collaboration where the Sonos voice control in the coming months will be able to send commands to the Philips Hue lighting systems. So I can imagine you can turn it on and off, and you can change the colors as well as the brightness intensity. Well, I do have some Philips Hue products in my home, and this light strip in my background, this is actually a Philips Hue light strip. So I look forward to that feature, I guess, but I'm happily controlling it via my Elgato Stream Deck as well as Google Assistant as well. So maybe not a big deal for some, but it does signify something, because right now, today, the Sonos voice control cannot control anything else other than Sonos itself. So this collaboration is probably a step in the right direction, and it may mean that there will be more collaboration moving forward. So moving from hardware and software development, the Sonos CEO, Tom Conrad, well, notice I said CEO because he is no longer the interim CEO. They were looking for a CEO, but the guy was just right in their face. So Tom Conrad is taking over as the CEO permanently. Now, this was announced on the 23rd of July. So he sent out something, right? I think it was an email to employees. He said that today isn't about dropping the word interim from my title. Today is the day we turn the page to an entirely new chapter. Today is the day we begin our reinvention, and today is the day we return to the absolute focus on excellence and the customer first principles that were the founding values of our company 20 years ago. These are actually quite big statements to make. Customer focus, customer first, and reinvention. Now, bear in mind, the latest product to have launched from the Sonos stable is the Arc Ultra. So that did very well. And before that, it was the Sonos Ace headphones, and together with that, the botched up S2 software. But let's put that all aside for now. It has been a while since we got any new products. So the Pinewood was kind of scraped. So if you think about what reinvention is, now I'm just hoping that the reinvention means that they are opening up a lot more things. Maybe they are extending TruePlay to Android. Maybe they are coming out with a completely new product category. Maybe they're going to be allowing us to mix and match speakers from the Sonos stable into different 5.1, 7.1, 9.1, 9.1.4 configuration, maybe pair 4 subwoofers, I don't know. This flexibility needs to be there. But I would fairly warn that Sonos needs to do this well rather than just flood the features out without testing, because nothing pisses off Sonos users than destroying the simplicity and the stability of the system. So Tom, if you're listening to this, you know what we are looking for. So as Tom took over the permanent CEO position, he went on to announce the Q3 earnings for Sonos. So Q3 2025 is not a great year, but they said that it was another quarter of solid execution. Revenue is actually above the high end of their guidance. So this is the 4th consecutive quarter where they are able to deliver on the top end of the guidance. Navigating complex environment and tariffs. Complex environment meaning, well, the software debacle, and tariffs. Now this is the key word. So I want to move on to tariffs and how it's impacting Sonos and how it will trickle down to you as a Sonos user or someone who is considering buying into Sonos. Now, tariffs are a terrible thing for consumers at least. And for US, I mean, I don't know how Trump is making that work, but let's assume for a moment that that is a certainty and it's going to happen. Now, in the Q3 of 2025, Sonos was impacted by the tariffs by just 60 BPS, right? Basis points. And for those of you who are not familiar with that term, it basically means about 0.6% or so. Now, it is not a terrible deal, but it's still in the couple of $1 million. Now, why is the impact that small? Well, because Sonos has shifted most of the manufacturing out of China into Vietnam and Malaysia. So their supply chain and their manufacturing is kind of like distributed already. So the risk is actually slightly lower than what would have been if they were sourcing and producing all their stuff from China. So in China, the production is still limited to some cables and maybe the stands. So less of the tech stuff, if you can imagine. So I would say that the impact may be a little bit smaller. Now, there will still be some impact, but it's a lot smaller. Now in Q4, they expect the 60 bips to increase to 180 bips. So that's another couple of $1 million more. Now Sonos needs to recover this. Now Sonos has already said that they are going to increase prices, right? Because they have to combat this gap of a couple of $1 million. So there's one way to save money if you are trying to get into the Sonos ecosystem, and that way is to buy now. Don't wait for the end of the year where the holiday season is upon us and the tariffs may have already increased the prices in the coming months. And another way to do it is to join my workshop. Now, do you know that Sonos, from the first release of their product, it is now 20 years old. Sonos is 20 years old. Yes, this backdrop here that I have on my screen here. Sonos is 20 years old, 20 years of Sonos. That is a long time for any tech company. And in conjunction with that, I'm actually working with TC Acoustic, Touch One Acoustic, which is in Singapore. And we're launching a series of workshops, well, not across many days. We have 3 sessions, and in that workshop I'll be sharing more about the history of Sonos, all the speakers that I've used, my personal experience, which includes even the Play 1s and the Play 3s. The Play 3 must be 14 years old by now. I'm not actively using them right now. They're tucked away in the corner, but as I last tested, they still work after 14 years. My God, that is something. That is really something, and that is the commitment that Sonos wants to portray, right, in supporting their older speakers. Think about your iPhone from 14 years ago. Does it still work? Well, there isn't even a software update for it now. So this workshop is happening on the 23rd of August, which is a Saturday. I'm putting up the QR code here so you can scan it to register. So there'll be 3 sessions held at 11 a.m., 12:15 p.m. and 1:30 p.m. And this is happening at Wheelock Place, which is the Sonos flagship store in Singapore. Now, there are very limited slots. Apparently, they're going to only allow 5 slots. You can bring a partner, so maybe that number doubles to 10. And when you attend this workshop, you'll be meeting me and I'll be sharing with you my experience. And for existing Sonos users, meaning to say, if you can prove that you're an existing Sonos user, maybe the app, maybe all your link speakers in the app, you will be able to get, let me scroll down a little bit, 25% discount of Sonos products, except the Art Ultra, which they are still giving a 15% discount. So this discount is huge. I have not seen such discounts applied across their product range ever before. But key reminder, you need to be an existing Sonos user. So if you are interested in the workshop, do scan this QR code right here, register yourself, and I'm looking forward to meeting you on the 23rd of August across all those 3 time slots. So I will either see you there at the event itself, or I will see you in one of my following videos.